Fretless conversion tutorial, go. Get yourself some cutters. I ground these flat so I can fit them in by the fret end. Keep in mind, I'm a moron, so if I can do this, anybody can do this. Let's move in close so we can kind of see what's going on here. I like to get in toward the fret end just so it starts to pull up and then slowly work my way throughout the fret, clipping until the fret just pops out. Some people will use a soldering iron to heat up the fret to help make it come out, but if it chips a little bit, we're just going to fill it in anyway, so I don't see any need to do that. Let's get all the frets out, and there we go. Now we got to get the nut out. I just use a flathead screwdriver, kind of wedged it in there and tapped gently with a hammer until I could get it to come out with minimal damage. Won't be too pretty, but it will be functional, hopefully. But now we've got all these holes we gotta fill. What are we gonna fill it with? Next time, we'll use baking soda and super glue. Follow for the next part. Fretless guitar build part 2, let's go. We're using baking soda and super glue to fill the holes left from when we pulled the frets out. I'm just using an stick, that's what I call it. Just spreading it around the fretboard, and I'm gonna try to roughly get it inside of all the frets. Now we're gonna get our razor blade, we're gonna tamp down each fret, making sure that it's full of the baking soda. You can also use the razor blade to scrape in some of the excess baking soda, making sure the fret is all the way full. Don't forget the sides either. It's important that the entire fret slot is full, otherwise it could cause some problems later on. Now that they're all filled up, we gotta grab our glue. This is just water-thin super glue, and I'm not gonna try to be too cautious or careful with it, because the whole fretboard is gonna get glue on it anyway, as part of the process of making it a super glued fingerboard. And I'm just using a razor blade to clean up the excess glue, but you could probably use an stick, and that would be just fine. Not pretty, but it's good enough for now, and we'll clean it up in the next part. Fretless guitar part 3. What I'm doing here is I'm just taking some sandpaper and knocking out some of the egregiously high spots. At this step, make sure you adjust the truss rods so the neck is perfectly straight, and I'm using a radius block to just kind of plane the fingerboard. I'm going to tape up the nut slot so I don't get too much glue in there. I'm doing something stupid with a razor blade. Ow. Haha, I gotcha. Make sure you wear eye and respiratory protection. Ask me how I know. Apply super glue, distribute evenly with a foam brush, wait 5 minutes, repeat. I used an stick to spread the glue on my last fretless, and you might want to do that because the foam brush tends to get a little bit gunked up. And this happens, which I'm sure isn't good for you. At this point, wait an hour or two before hitting it with the sandpaper, taking out any high spots, and then leveling it down again. Then I clean it up with a little bit of alcohol. Apply glue, short wait, apply glue, long wait, sand, clean up. You're going to want to repeat that process 6 times to build up a thick coating of super glue. On the sanding step, don't go super crazy, remove a bunch of material. We're just trying to get it kind of flat for the next coat. Here's a little close-up of my final coat. And now we're in the home stretch. All we've got left to do is let this completely cure, and then we're going to polish it down in the next part. Final part of the fretless guitar. What I've got here is some soap and water in a spray bottle. I spray a little bit on my sandpaper radius block and a little bit on the fretboard, and I do a combination of wet and dry sanding. If you applied enough super glue in the previous steps, you could probably get away with something like 180 grit here, and you can get the fingerboard perfectly level. Make sure if you're wet sanding, keep everything lubed. There's probably something to be said about water against wood, but this is a glary neck. I don't care about it all that much. See all those shiny spots? We don't want that. Those are spots we haven't hit. This is more like what we want. There's a couple shiny spots, but it's mostly good. Now to the polishing portion. These are all the different grits I used, just stepping up from 600 to 5,000. On all this sanding stuff, be patient. It takes time. With each passing grit, we can see the fingerboard getting shinier and shinier, and that's what we want. A smooth surface for the strings to be up against. The camera didn't really pick it up, but it is smooth and shiny. Now we've got to deal with the nut. Did you save one of your frets? We can cheat it a little bit. Measure the height of the exposed fret, and then take that measurement and make a mark at the base of your nut, and then you can grind it down, and that'll get you relatively close. Or if you're feeling yourself, you can learn how to cut a nut. But I'm not really going to teach you how to do that. All that's left to do is reassemble. Now you've got a fretless guitar, but really I don't recommend it.